everybody, it's Joanne B, and I'm here today with a little watercoloring tutorial. In my projects last week I did lots of watercoloring and I thought it might be fun to show you how I did it. To start off with, I picked my pattern papers that I was going to work with. I'm sure none of you will be surprised that once again I've reached for the beloved collection from my mind's eye. It's my new favorite. And to begin with, I grabbed Pure Innocence's stamp from My Favorite Things, and I stamped it with Brilliance ink onto watercolor paper. And to begin with, I just go real faintly. I use Blush Blossom for her face. And I'm just going to go in and do her skin tones all here with that light peach ink. And I'm going to go in and do all the skin tones at the same time. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to let that dry before I do anything else. You can see it moves pretty quickly. Think of this like laying down a layer of paint on your wall. This is not your finished color. This is just your base. I'm going to go a little heavier in the places that are shadowy. So like right under her hairline is a little shadowy. And right under the edge of her dress. And if anything's too dark or too light, don't worry. Like I said, this is just your first pass. So real quickly. And because the water is filling, the brush is filled with water, that's what lets it move around real nicely on that watercolor paper. Now I'm going to go in and fill in her dress with the lightest shade. I'm going to add a couple layers of shading to the dress. Right now I'm just working with my same water brush. This time I've dipped it into a very pink ink that I'm going to use for the highlights on the dress. And I'm just keeping my brush wet with the water from inside the chamber. You can always just give it a little squeeze if you need more water. And where the paper is wet, the ink will just really flow across the wet paper. And I'm just covering her whole dress with pink. The reason why I wanted to wait in between to let that peach skin color ink dry is, like I just said, that the ink will move across wet paper. So if I had been trying to color this area in pink while her arms were still wet, we would have had pink dress bleed all over the arms, and it would not have been pretty. So as long as you wait for each layer to dry, the ink will stay put in its place. The next area I can do while that dress dries is I can do her hair and her shoes real quickly. Now we know her legs are dry, so I can do her shoes real quick. She's going to have little brown moccasins. I apologize, you might be able to hear my 4-year-old upstairs banging around on the floor. It's a weekend, which means everyone's home. So there's her shoes done real quickly with a light brown ink. I used Close to Cocoa for this one. And I'm going to give her a couple, I'm going to start out light with her hair, and then I can always darken it up. Like anything else, hair has shadows, so she's going to have the lightest where the sun is hitting her, and then we can go back in and add some shadows. But at least this I've got a first pass, and you'll notice I left open where that little hair clip of hers is. And I can fill that in later to make it a pretty sparkly hair clip. Now, this is Riding Hood Red, and I'm doing the same process. I'm starting with my darkest right up against the edge of the dress and just adding my deeper shadows. I'm not going to fully cover that pink because the key to a good looking watercolor is areas of light and dark. Keeps the eye happy having a little bit of different colors. So you can see I'm just adding some darker areas, like there'd be a little shadow right under her arm. And again, it's not perfect, but you can see I'm building it in layers. I'm going to go in and deepen it up a little bit. You can always add more if you need to. I don't want her to have gray hair. She's too cute of a little girl to have all gray hair yet. Just chestnut it up a little bit. I'm still going to work around that little spot where her hair clip's going to go, because I'm going to make that nice bright red like her dress, but I'm going to leave that until last when I'm really happy with all of her hair. Then I'll add that bit in last. And there we go. I always try and have my papers picked out in advance so that I know where I'm going. Because left to my own devices I would have thought, ooh, she's good. But she wasn't quite red enough for what she needs to go to. So once I pull this back out as a reference, I can see where she's going to need to go if she's going to fit on top of the project I'm working on. So I picked that pink pirouette back up again that I had out before, and I'm just giving her some soft little rosy cheeks. Just a teeny bit of pink right there. And right now I'm using a really light wash of Soft Sky ink, and I just go in all around the edges. And I'm going to do, obviously, again, my darkest color right up next to her, and using the water that's in my pen, then you can drag it out all the way to the end, and it makes for a nice subtle blend. Okay, I'm ready for one more quick tip, and that is I needed a little bit more of the Soft Sky ink. Can you see this? So I grabbed my re-inker and did just a drop of it in the lid of my ink pad. I'm going to add just straight re-inker, just right up against the edges of her, all the way around. Just to deepen that shadow a little bit, give her a little bit more of a pop off of that page. I'm not going very far out from the edge of her, but just quickly all the way around the edge. Is she back in her frame? There she is. Okay, and now I'm going to blot that off and just use water and kind of soften that up a little bit. It just gives a little, helps her to jump off that page a little bit, I think. And that way you still have your light blue all the way out, but it's really focused all around. You know, it's really the most right around the edge of her. And then softly fades out to the edge of the nestability. Okay, I think we're nearly done.